Somewhere in Georgia, in the spring of 2014, a homeowner paid $3,800 to have the attic of a 2-story colonial re-insulated. The contractor who came out was licensed. The contractor who came out was insured. The contractor who came out charged within market range for the Atlanta area. He tore out the old fiberglass. He installed 40 rolls of new fiberglass batts rated R30. He wrote the R value on the invoice. He wrote the square footage on the invoice. He got paid the next day. He never came back. 10 years later, that homeowner has paid approximately $22,000 more in electricity than a neighbor with the same floor plan, the same orientation to the sun, and the same original year of construction. The difference between the two attics cost the first contractor an extra $600 in materials and 1 extra hour of labor. Nobody told the homeowner. Nobody told the next homeowner who bought that house either. What you're about to watch is the most expensive construction failure in the American residential market, measured not by the repair bill at the end, because there is no repair bill at the end, but by the invisible monthly tax that compounds for as long as anyone lives in the house. This is the $18,000 energy bill trap, and it is almost certainly already installed above your ceiling. The insulation industry in the United States generates approximately $12 billion a year in residential installations. The insulation verification industry in the United States generates approximately zero. When a contractor installs fiberglass batts in your attic, there is no independent party that checks whether the installation was done correctly. The county inspector visits once. He looks at the R value printed on the wrapper. He checks that the square footage on the permit matches the ceiling below. He drives to the next house. What you are about to see is failure number 31 in the American Homeowners Field Guide. 73 documented construction failures across the United States. The link is the first line in the description below. I will come back to it. For now, stay with what is actually happening in the space above your ceiling right now. The 3 grades of insulation installation quality defined by the Residential Energy Services Network, known as RESNET, exist in published industry standards, but almost never in actual field enforcement. Grade 1 means the fiberglass is cut to fit perfectly around every obstruction, compressed nowhere, and covers every square inch of ceiling below. Grade 2 means the installation has minor voids, minor compression, or minor gaps, and loses approximately 15% of the rated R value. Grade 3 means the installation has major voids, major compression around wiring and plumbing, and loses approximately 35 to 40% of the rated R value. Oak Ridge National Laboratory published a study as far back as 1998, measuring the actual installed R value of fiberglass batts in field conditions. The average installation across hundreds of homes came in at approximately 62% of the package rating. A batt rated R30 was performing at R18. That research has been repeated, expanded, and confirmed every decade since. In the next 18 minutes, I'm going to show you 3 specific things. The exact difference between a typical fiberglass batt attic installed by an American contractor in 2014 and an attic that was insulated correctly in the same year, in the same zip code, by a different kind of crew. How the difference compounds in the electric bill of the typical American home over 10 years into a number between $15,000 and $24,000 that has already left the bank account of whoever owned that house. And the $400 decision on the day of the install that separates the 2 scenarios, which the contractor will never mention to you because there is no profit margin in explaining it. Stop the video for 15 seconds. The attic failure you just heard about is one of 73 documented construction failures in the American Homeowners Field Guide, linked in the first line of the description below this video. Foundation slabs poured without vapor barriers. Pressure-treated lumber rated for the wrong ground contact class. Aluminum branch circuit wiring that still powers more than 1.5 million American homes. Federal Pacific electrical panels that have been linked to fires in more than 25 million residences since 1950. Each failure documented with the exact product name, the cost of the correct material at Home Depot or Lowe's, the contractor markup charge for the wrong version, and the section of the International Residential Code, or International Energy Conservation Code, that was violated. The field guide is $27. The energy penalty that the attic failure in this video imposes on the average American homeowner over 10 years averages $18,000 permanently. The link is the first line below this video. 1 access. Read chapter 31 tonight before your next electric bill arrives. Then walk up to your attic this weekend with the inspection list. Now back to what is actually happening between your ceiling drywall and your roof sheathing. There are 2 competing assemblies in American residential construction for how to insulate the top of a house. The first is the vented attic assembly. Fiberglass batts, blown fiberglass, or blown cellulose is installed on top of the ceiling drywall, between the bottom cords of the roof trusses. The roof deck above stays cold in winter and hot in summer. The attic air is connected to the outside through soffit vents, ridge vents, and gable vents. This assembly is cheap, fast, and meets the minimum requirements of International Residential Code, Section R806 for attic ventilation. It is what approximately 90% of American homes have. The second is the unvented attic assembly, sometimes called an encapsulated attic or a sealed attic. Closed cell spray polyurethane foam is sprayed directly onto the underside of the roof sheathing. The roof deck becomes the thermal and air barrier. The attic air becomes part of the conditioned volume of the house. This assembly is more expensive, slower to install, and is permitted under International Residential Code Section R. 806.5, which was added to the code in 2004 after pressure from building scientists led by Joseph Osterberek of Building Science Corporation. The performance gap between the two assemblies is not subtle. A fiberglass Batt rated R38, installed at RESNET grade 2 quality, performs at approximately R29 in the field. Call it R30. One more time before we get into the fix. 73 documented failures, one link, $27. The field guide is in the first line of the description. The average American home loses somewhere between 30 and 60% of its heating and cooling energy through failures like the one in this attic. Every month, forever, until someone finds them. Closed cell spray polyurethane foam sprayed at 6 inches thickness on the underside of the roof deck performs at approximately R42. Because it is sprayed in place with no voids, no compression, and no gaps, it performs at its rated value, not 60% of its rated value. That is the first advantage, and it is the smaller of the two. The second advantage is air sealing. A fiberglass Batt attic is a sieve. Every recessed can light punched through the ceiling below is a hole. Every wire penetration is a hole. Every plumbing vent stack is a hole. Every attic access hatch is a giant hole. The gap between the top plate of every exterior wall and the drywall ceiling is a continuous crack running around the entire perimeter of the house. On a cold morning in January in Atlanta, warm air from your living room rises into the attic through all of those holes, crosses the cold fiberglass, and escapes through the soffit vents and the ridge vent. Building Science Corporation measured air leakage rates through typical American attics and field conditions and found that the stack effect alone, driven by the temperature difference between the house and the outside, moves somewhere between 1,500 and 4,000 cubic feet of heated air out of the house every single hour in winter. Every cubic foot of heated air that leaves the house is replaced by a cubic foot of cold, outside air that infiltrates through the bottom of the house, through electrical outlets, through basement rim joists, through window frames. The furnace runs to heat that cold air. The furnace keeps running. Now let me show you exactly what the $400 difference looks like on the day of the install. When the typical contractor walks into an attic to install fiberglass batts, he orders enough R30 or R38 batts to cover the square footage of the ceiling below. That is his scope. He does not air seal anything. He does not foam the wiring penetrations. He does not gasket the attic hatch. He does not caulk the top plate to the drywall. He does not wrap the recessed can lights. He installs the batts, and he leaves. The correct fiberglass install, the one that achieves RESNET Grade 1 and meets the intent of the International Energy Conservation Code, requires a separate air sealing pass before the insulation goes in. That air sealing pass takes approximately 4 hours of labor for a 2,200 square foot home. The materials for that air sealing pass are a case of Great Stuff Pro expanding foam, a case of fire-rated caulk, a roll of foil tape, a box of recessed can light covers from Tenmet or Amazon, and a weather stripping kit for the attic hatch. The total material cost at Home Depot runs between $180 and $240. The total additional labor, at typical insulation crew wages, runs between $150 and $250. That is the $400 decision. $400 of air sealing work performed before the fiberglass goes in on an otherwise identical installation moves the attic from grade 3 performance to grade 1 performance and reduces the air leakage from 1,500 cubic feet per hour to approximately 400 cubic feet per hour. The annual energy savings on that $400 upgrade for a typical home in International Energy Conservation Code climate zones 3 through 5, which covers approximately 80% of the United States population, runs between $900 and $1,800 a year, depending on local utility rates and climate severity. Call it $1,200 a year average. Over 10 years, that $400 decision returns $12,000 to the homeowner. Over 20 years, it returns $24,000. Over the typical American home ownership period of 13 years, it returns approximately $15,600. The contractor who skipped the $400 did not keep that $15,600. The contractor walked away with a $3,800 invoice and never thought about the attic again. The electric utility kept the difference every month for a decade. Now let me show you the second fix. It is larger. Closed cell spray polyurethane foam applied to the underside of the roof deck at a thickness of 6 inches over approximately 1,600 square feet of roof area in a typical American home costs the homeowner somewhere between $12,000 and $18,000 depending on region. A fiberglass Batt install on the same home costs somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000. The spread between the two, call it $13,000 on the high end, is the number that causes 90% of American homeowners to choose the fiberglass. They look at the bid from the spray foam contractor. They look at the bid from the fiberglass contractor. They see a $13,000 difference. They choose the cheaper option. What the spray foam contractor does not include in his bid, because it is not his job to teach economics, is the 10-year total cost comparison. The energy savings from a properly installed closed-cell spray foam encapsulated attic compared to a typical grade 2 fiberglass vented attic in the same house, in climate zones 3 through 5, runs between $1,500 and $3,000 a year. Call it $2,200 a year average. Over 10 years, the spray foam option returns $22,000 in energy savings. Subtract the $13,000 upfront premium. The spray foam homeowner is ahead by $9,000 at year 10. By year 15, ahead by $20,000. By year 20, ahead by $31,000. The fiberglass contractor will not tell you this calculation exists. The fiberglass contractor cannot tell you this calculation exists because if you ran it, you would not hire him. Now let me be specific about where you buy the correct materials if you want to verify this yourself. Great Stuff Pro Gaps and Cracks, a case of 12 cans, cost roughly $110 at any commercial Home Depot Pro desk. Fire-rated caulk, such as DP Firestop or Hilti FS1, a case of 12 tubes, cost roughly $75 at the same counter. Tenmat FF130E recessed Kenlite covers sold in cases of 6 cost roughly $40 a case on Amazon. A residential spray foam contractor licensed to install closed cell spray polyurethane foam should be vetted through the Spray Polyurethane Foam Alliance website, which maintains a searchable installer directory. If your region has no qualified spray foam contractor, the alternative is a blown cellulose install with a dedicated air sealing pass first, performed by a contractor rated through the Building Performance Institute. Every one of those vendors, products, and certification paths is documented in Chapter 31 of the field guide linked below. Now, let me show you how to inspect what is actually in your attic this weekend with nothing but a flashlight and a phone. Go up into the attic. If it is vented, you will see fiberglass or cellulose on the floor. If it is encapsulated, you will see spray foam on the underside of the roof. If it is vented, look at the light fixtures that penetrate the ceiling. Are they covered with insulation contact-rated can covers, or are they bare with fiberglass draped around them? Look at the top plate of the exterior walls where the drywall meets the framing. Is there a bead of caulk or foam sealing that joint, or is there a visible gap? Look at the attic access hatch from the attic side. Is it gasketed? Is there insulation on top of it? Does daylight come through the perimeter? Look at the fiberglass batts themselves. Are they installed flat against the drywall with no gaps, or are there visible seams, compressed areas, and bare patches of ceiling showing through? Every one of those 5 inspections takes less than 1 minute. 4 of them failing out of 5 is a grade 3 install. 3 of them failing is grade 2. 1 of them failing is still costing you approximately $400 a year. Every failure in this video follows the same pattern. A construction or renovation decision that cost the builder or contractor less than $1,000 to make correctly. A homeowner who had no way to know what to look for. An inspector whose legal job does not include verifying installation quality, only code compliance on square footage and rated R value, and an invisible tax that arrives every month on the electric bill. The attic failure in this video is the most expensive of the 73 failures in the field guide. Not because the repair is expensive. The repair is relatively cheap, but because the failure never stops billing you. The foundation vapor barrier failure bills you once in year 20 with a $40,000 invoice. The aluminum wiring failure bills you once in year 30 when it either causes a fire or requires a rewire. The attic insulation failure bills you every 30 days, on the first of the month, for as long as anyone lives in the house. That is why it is failure number 31 in the field guide, not because it is in the middle in terms of severity, because compound interest on monthly loss over the typical home ownership period makes it the single most expensive silent mistake in American residential construction. Let me be clear about what this video is and what it is not. Closed cell spray polyurethane foam is not the right answer for every house. There are homes where the roof deck has moisture issues that require the attic to breathe, and an unvented assembly would make those issues worse. There are climate zones, particularly in the cold and humid transition regions, where specific detailing around the spray foam installation matters more than the installation itself, and where a poorly specified spray foam attic can cause condensation failures on the roof sheathing. There are cases where dense packed blown cellulose in a vented attic, combined with a full air sealing pass below, delivers 90% of the spray foam performance at 40% of the cost. The field guide documents those cases too, with a decision matrix for each International Energy Conservation Code climate zone. What I am telling you in this video is not that spray foam is always right. What I am telling you is that the fiberglass Batt installation you almost certainly have in your attic right now is almost certainly performing at approximately 60% of its rated R value. And you are paying for that gap every month. And the $400 air sealing pass that would close most of the gap was never performed by the contractor who installed the fiberglass. And you were never told that it should have been. There are 3 more insulation failures I could not fit in this video. The vapor retarder installed on the wrong side of the wall in cold climate zones. The recessed can lights punched through the attic ceiling without insulation contact rated covers. And the gap between the top plate and the drywall ceiling that loses more heat in one winter than a broken window would lose in a week. They are in the pinned comment below with the real material costs at Home Depot and the code sections that require them. Click the comment now. You have 2 choices when this video ends. Option 1, close the tab. Keep paying the invisible tax that the previous contractor built into your house in 2014 or whenever the last time anyone touched your attic. Wait until you sell the home and let the next owner pay it instead. Assume that the inspector who signed off the permit knew what he was doing. Assume that the contractor who wrote R30 on the invoice delivered R30. Option 2. Click the first link in the description below this video. Download the American Homeowners Field Guide. Go up into your attic this weekend with a flashlight and the 5-point inspection list I just walked you through. Find out exactly what is up there. Decide whether the fix is worth the money. Make an informed decision about your own house for the first time in the history of owning it. The contractor who installed your insulation is not coming back to correct it. The inspector who signed off on it is not going to call you. The electric company is not going to mention that you are being overcharged. The only person who is going to protect your home from the $18,000 trap is you. This channel investigates 1 construction failure per week. If you own a home in America, you need to be here. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The next video might be about the part of your house you never thought to look at. Starting this weekend with the flashlight. And the link below, the $400 decision exists. They just made sure you would never find it. You have the information now. Go find what they hid.